think it's huge to have a community that you can grow with, and not I'm not anti-tech, but you need there has to be human interaction with individuals. And I know how mundane it can get. I know how repetitive and just like, oh, hi, my name is Jordan. I'm from blah, blah, blah. Oh, hi. And then you can do that with each group. But you have to find, I would just keep doing it. Yeah. Just keep going through it and keep doing it with whatever church you're at, whatever group of people you come across, and just once you find someone that is that you think you can grow with, invest in that relationship, and don't just, I think like, yeah, we're cool. Like, no, invest in those human interactions. Like, go out and, hey, would you like to go get some coffee? Would you like to go to this place? Oh, I know it's a brunch spot, ABC, whatever. But just keep moving that along, and don't just, hi, my name is Jordan. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and then just take a step back and let everyone else do the same thing. And then, all right, come back next week and don't let that Thursday, Sunday, whatever day you meet for church be the only time you meet those people.
For sure. Yeah. I agree. Guys, do you have anything?
Yeah. I think for me, and I guess this is just because it's like what's facing us, especially as millennials now, like, don't let social media, don't let what you see in the media or anywhere, like, be your kryptonite. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't see someone else's life and try to be like them or act like them or think like them, because God has set you apart. He has set you different. Anybody you see is not you. Like, it's not you. It's not who God has created you to be. So don't let like social media be the killer of what God has called you to be, your purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say I guess so, like, the social media is a reference,
it's not the Bible.
Addiction. That's not like that's or whatever. That's not like that's what we should be doing. It's just a reference point. It's just like literally like it sparks an idea. It's not like that is what I'm going to do. I'm like, oh, that person did this, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. It's just like, what is something similar? And again, you got to use your head.
What is this? For the mass.
Can I begin?
It's the chill kid. I got the cards to the deck you should deal with. I got the flows and out your head. Can you feel it? I put the beans in the bag and I would never.
Hey, welcome to the For the Masses podcast. My name is Jonathan Barrett, your host. Hey, I'm back with a banger. I'm excited. I apologize. I missed last week, but we're back. I got a great couple with me, but before I tell you who they are and what they do, we have some admin tasks we have to take care of. Please follow us on all platforms at For the Masses podcast, and on YouTube. Please subscribe right now. Just stop what you're doing. Subscribe right now, and on Spotify. I'm back here with a couple who I look up to. Me and Jess and I look up to a lot in the church. You know, they're on fire for the Lord, and they're going in that direction. So without further ado, I have the Ogburns with me.
Hello. Hey.
What's up? What is
it? Yeah, I'm excited to sit down with you all. I know this took a while to set up, A, and then B, we had a pre-conversation that I think would have been, good for the show. But
it was a warm up. It was a good warm up.
It was a good warm up.
Yeah.
I met you all probably almost a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, probably, and it was pretty refreshing seeing a young Black couple, already married, trying to grow closer to God and like what that looks like. So, you guys encouraged us a lot. I just want to give you your flowers right here, right now.
Yeah,
thank you.
Appreciate that.
So, tell everyone about yourselves, where you guys grew up individually and together.
You go first.
I am Des. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 414, baby, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, all day, every day. Yeah. There we go.
And my name is Jordan. Born and raised Orlando, Florida. I call it Lando.
You just trying to do something like me? Oh, that ain't even a thing.
It is. It's real. Yeah. Born and raised. That's me.
That's awesome. And so you guys met in the Navy, and you both just joined the Navy after high school?
Yes. Joined the Navy at 18. You took a year off, so you did at the age of 19. And we met each other in Yokosuka, Japan, on the ship out there. She kept coming to my office for asking for random stuff. I knew it was up. I knew it was up.
Yeah.
But, that's how we met. And then that's all she wrote from there. And that's been a journey, literally, ever since then.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, like individually, did you guys both grow up in church separately, or like how did you guys find Christ like later on?
Yeah, so I grew up in church. I grew up, I was adopted at the age of 2. So from the age of 2 until I left for the Navy, I grew up in church. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It was always something at church. Dad, deacon, mama, that was everything else. So yeah, we just stayed at the church, and it never departed. It never departed. Even though I departed, it never departed from my heart. So.
And then I was born and raised private Christian school my entire life. And then there's definitely a dynamic. School's PWI church was African Methodist Episcopal. So it was definitely two vastly different groups of people, but it was the same. We all praise the same God, but yeah.
Absolutely. So, and you grew up with Baptist?
Yes, Baptist. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So, when you guys got married, were there any like doctrine differences that you had to like establish off jump, or
The core, no.
Yeah, I think that's what made it easy.
Yeah. I think that's, like you said, it just made it easy. Like us both knowing God, choosing to follow him, and choosing to follow everything that he has put forth and told us to do. It made like the core things very easy. And like, we know that this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen.
yeah,
Period.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a blessing. I know encouraging for a lot of like younger Christians, like listening, because Christianity can be very like vast and like,
Yes.
more so wide, but as you go down to the roots, it's pretty much like similar.
Right.
But sometimes you got to like filter through all of that stuff to
Yeah.
get there. And so like that's beautiful. So you guys met in the Navy, and did you immediately decide like, hey, like I want to marry you, or like how many years did it take?
So we
That's crazy.
when we started talking, everyone was like, you should date her, you should date her. I was like, yeah. And then we were in Yogi Park, which is Yogi Park.
Baby, no.
I'm not gonna
We
I'm not gonna go too deep.
The 6 months that it took for you to ask me to be your girlfriend. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I had to, check some boxes. I mean, you can't just. Everyone was saying this. I was like, Melissa.
Yeah.
She checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
But she ended up checking all the boxes, and after that 6 months, I felt like we were good friends.
Yeah, we were really good friends.
Mhm.
Yeah. Of course, I wanted to be more from the jump, but I appreciate you taking your time. It taught me a lot, for sure.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
And then, we were in Yogi Park, which is like Central Park in Tokyo.
Okay.
And then we were in a tent, and I asked her to be my girlfriend then. And then a police officer came and was like, hey, you can't have
the tank. Yeah, right after.
What do you know?
Yeah, we were staying at the tree. And he's like,
That was funny. And then after that, we did it for about a year until I left. 3 months after I left, she broke up with me for various reasons. And then she ended up moving to North Carolina, and we rekindled things then. And after that, maybe a year? Not even.
I got back in July. You proposed in December.
October. Oh, December. You're right.
Yeah, December. You probably knew
I
it.
brought the ring. I brought the ring in October.
Okay, you proposed, and then we got married. Not even a month after that.
Yes.
Wow. So it wasn't like, oh, I met this person, like I'm immediately going to marry them.
No.
No, not for him. But I told him before I even spoke to him that God told me that he was going to be my husband.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I told my best friend at the time. We were at an award ceremony. He was sitting on the stage, and I'm like, "That's my husband." She's like, "Girl, shut up!" Like whatever. I was like, "No, that is my husband." So,
And that's beautiful. So what about him? So like God talked to you and he told you like, this is my husband.
At the time, I didn't know it was the Holy Spirit, but yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And then like just even getting to know him on a deeper level, like just he was like on fire for Jesus. And like for so long, I had dated men or like been with men that like didn't know they didn't even know how to spell Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So, not only was he on fire for Jesus, he was different than everybody else.
And it goes back to that peculiar aspect, and to you saw it like someone different, and like to the world it's like, all right, well, like what's different about this guy? And like I find that too in my life, like even my friends, is like, what's different about him? What's different about him? And I think that's what we're called to do. Salt on earth. What made you finally decide like to pull the trigger with this?
There was like so after that list, those boxes were checked. There was like, she was my first girlfriend. So like getting into that was like a thing within itself to me. I was just like, oh, she really my girlfriend? Nah. no, she's not it. You know, and everyone's like, no, she's it. This is it. You'd be stupid not to. And like, they asked me all the questions. I like, we went this whole back and forth thing. And I was like, I guess there is no reason as to why not. Like, there's no reason. Like, she's a special girl, and I would like to know more about her and get to know her in a different way. You know, be exclusive and intentional with that. So, and letting her know that. So,
yeah, that's beautiful. So, like, you're pretty, like, I don't want to say like selective.
Yes.
In your relationships.
Yes. And because prior to her, there was the girl that I was chasing in high school, and I guess there were still some, I guess not. I don't want to use the word trauma, but like hurt, I guess, like trauma, whatever. There was still some pain there that I had to get over internally. And so, this is important, because prior to meeting her, I literally made it my mission running through Japan looking for a girl. Like, I was like, all right, I'm gonna be on the train and I'm gonna see a girl. And I vividly remember looking at a girl. She's from Japan. I remember looking at her, she looking at me, and she like immediately like, and I was like, just they're like, it's not gonna work out. I don't know how this is gonna work out here. And then when I was traveling all throughout, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just run into somebody random and it's just gonna spark. And then here she comes to the office, and I'm like, I'm out here looking, and then I literally gave up. I was just like, whatever, I'm just keep doing what I was doing. And then she walked through the door.
You know what's crazy? It seems like, Holy Spirit, like that divine intervention aspect of it is like pretty common amongst like Christians and like the couples and like things like that. Because I had a very similar experience of like, I was just like scrolling one day, I was like, I want a girlfriend. And then a month later, I met Jessica. And I was actually wanting to take her serious. And so that was big for me. And she has her version of that, but it seems like you all had that too. And that's a blessing. So you guys end up like going your separate ways, but like coming back together, doing like the long distance. You were here in DC, you were in North Carolina, Des, and you guys were like, hey, we're gonna like, figure out, make it work. When did it switch to like, hey, we're gonna figure out, make it work as a couple, to like, hey, I want to like have a covenant in God and like, I want to be your husband, I want to be your wife?
I would say August of her coming to North Carolina, because like when I left, she was still in Japan, and then a year went by, and she came that July, and then I would say August, September, the marriage conversation started.
Oh wow! It was a conversation of like, hey, like I want to marry you, I want to marry you.
Yeah, we knew. I feel like even I knew after like we broke up. So when we broke up, it was like, he's long distance. I'm young. I don't need to be tied down to somebody that far. Blah blah blah. And like as time went on, it was like God just kept leading me back to Jordan. I called him randomly. I was like really going through like a really dark time during deployment, and I called him, and it happened to be his birthday. I like completely forgot, completely went over my head. And this man like talked me off a ledge and didn't even mention it was his birthday, like at all, But I just feel like through that time, like God just kept leading me back to Jordan in different ways, not even physically, but like spiritually, mentally. Like I would go back into like my journal and see some of Jordan's notes and stuff like that. So I just feel like, again, like you said, it's just the Holy Spirit. Like it was God. Like, hey, this is who you're going to be with. Like I don't care how much you want to fight it or whatever the case may be. So when we came back, we kind of like already knew. Like I know. Like you waited so long for me. Like you literally waited. You didn't date anybody. You didn't talk to anybody. Those 2 years that I was gone, still in Japan, and you came to DC, like you just waited. Like when your mom was like, hey, Jordan, like when are you going to talk to somebody? And he's like, no, I'm waiting for Des, like I'm waiting for Des. Meanwhile, I'm like, forget this man. Like I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just think when we came back together, it was like, what are we doing? Like, come on now.
Like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. I didn't think it was going to be that soon. Like, as soon as Jordan did it, though. But, like, yeah.
So,
we knew.
So, August, you came back, and then October, you had the ring.
No, I came back in July, but we kind of like 2020. I came back in July. My biological mom had like passed away, and like I was transitioned to like North Carolina, but like Jordan was still there. But I think that August timeframe is when we start like traveling. He would drive 5 hours. I would drive 5 hours. He would drive like August is that time we just kind of like rekindled everything.
And that's amazing. So like you guys decided, hey, we're going to get married. And then like, so did you guys go do like couples counseling with like your minister, or like
Anything like
Did I didn't like it though.
No,
Oh, you didn't like it?
hated it.
How come?
It wasn't. It didn't do anything. Like it was. The question was, okay, how do you feel? Oh, okay. How would I say it?
It
It just wasn't it. Like there were the questions because she talked to her sister about the questions that her and her fiance are going through in their premarital counseling and like the questions they're being asked. Like financial, oh, what are your financial things? What are blah, blah, blah. But like getting into detail, do you know how much he has in his savings? Do you know how much she has in her savings? Do you know what her credit score, blah, 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 such and such. Like, yeah, they get into the details. They are just didn't do that. It's just, okay, how are you guys' finances? You know, she's this. And I'm like, oh, okay, you guys got to make sure you talk about it.
Yeah.
Make sure you talk about it.
It was the person. It wasn't like I would still recommend 10 out of 10. Somebody like you
Yes.
having like I want everybody to have that intervention like with the pastor and like
For sure.
let's talk about these things. It just wasn't, and I thank God that He put other people in our lives for us to be able to do that. Yeah, it wasn't. It just wasn't it for us.
Yeah.
Because I don't think if you didn't have the discernment of like something was missing or like we know there was more because let's say we were to go in with it and be like, oh, that was good. Like, oh, we're good. We're perfect. Blah, blah, blah. But we knew like, okay, we're going to have to do a little more digging with ourselves because it was through the Navy. It was free. So
Yeah.
it wasn't, yeah, it was through the Navy. It was free. There wasn't any, cost associated with it. So,
And it's so crazy because we kind of fell into place after we stopped talking to her. Like,
Yeah.
we actually started having the things and people in our lives to help us through conflict and stuff like that after we stopped talking.
Conflict resolution. That's a big one, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. Everyone handles it differently.
yes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something, you know, Jess and I are like, you know, navigating right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, like,
Understood.
but then, you know, God gives you these little breakthroughs here and there.
Mhm.
And like, man, it's a blessing for sure.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so like you guys did that premarital counseling. But you had like ministers and other people that are like Christians around you to like kind of like fill in the gaps.
Mhm.
You would say.
Yeah.
Small group.
Oh, small group's fire.
TBC.
Small group's fire. Our small group, the marriage small group, then our other marriage small group. So like, I don't think you can ever be like, all right, that's too much. Like it's not like whatever words of wisdom you can get from whomever, whatever. And just sometimes always like nuggets, like someone will say one thing and now just like, boom, that's what you need. Like it sits with you and it helps with so much. But, I would say the TDC community has definitely been a huge, help in our relationship for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a blessing because you guys, again, you guys encourage us a lot. And, you know, Travis and Alicia are a lighthouse couple,
Mhm.
you know, and we don't really know what that means, like, yet, how, like, you know, involved we'll be with them.
Mhm.
But, yeah, no, like, I'm just definitely looking forward and, like, putting ourselves in a situation. So, like, you know, we can, like, understand God's will,
Mhm.
you know, for the relationship and, like, making sure it's really about Him.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so that's super cool. So like you guys got married, right? You're in DC and stuff like that. Would you say like that first few years of your marriage was like coasting, or was it like hilly, or was it like just an uphill climb? How would you
That
describe it?
first year was a disaster.
Oh wow.
Yeah. For real. The first year was a disaster, and quite frankly, I don't think we got into a cohesiveness and like the perfect marriage, if you will. Not even the perfect, because there's no such thing, but like actually like married, involving God, praying together, like conflict resolution, like really getting into it until recently this year. But I mean, the first year was garbage, and then after, you know, like the second year, we started to grow into it. But this year, we're in it, you know, we're in it.
I like to think of it. I like to always analogies put it towards something, and I apologize if people don't like sports, but I feel like anyone can get this. It's like when great sports people come together and you guys shake hands, everyone's at the conference and everyone's like, oh, this is great. It's going to be a great thing for the name team. This is going to be great for this team. You go to practice and you're like, hey man, that's my shot.
Yeah.
Like you move this way and you move that way. Well, I don't want to because this is blah, blah, blah. And it was just a bunch of that. And then you just have to get through it. And eventually the 2-person team is like, it's good.
Yeah.
One day you get like sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
Yeah. You just like, we're going to do this for the rest of our life because that's what we vowed to do. So this is what gonna be. This how life gonna be. Yeah. And of course, divine intervention from the greatest Father we have.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, and that's beautiful, and it's encouraging for me to hear that because, you know, like, all right, man, like, you know, am I doing it right? Is my fruit? Then I start looking at myself. Is my fruit good?
Mhm.
Like, do I have good fruit? You know, and I'm like,
oh my gosh. And then like, I'm human, Jesus was fully human, and just like understanding that, hey, are you going to like sin from anger? Or are you going to like do these other like sins? And it's like, that doesn't mean your fruit's bad, John. Like, your heart's in a good place,
For sure.
And I think that's we want to be mature Christians. We want to keep growing as Christians. And you're like, man, I'm still doing this. Like, man, and stuff like that. So like, again, praying together and like finding people to intercede for us.
Yes.
Like super important. And I think we do a lot of that in our small groups, too. So it's been really encouraging, for sure. So how do you feel like your faith has like molded you guys at this point in time?
Go ahead.
I feel like it's, I think that without that, obviously, it might work. So without your faith, you could have a marriage without the faith, but I don't think you could really have the spiritual connection, the real, like a truly deep connection. I couldn't without God, without faith. All the lessons that have been taught to me, all the things I go back to, I wouldn't be able to overcome those things without Father.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially, and we talked about this before the show, but like how like when the church is silent, culture fills in, and there's multiple like mediums for culture to like catch us and like feed us stuff. And you're like, man, someone said one time to me, they was like, "Oh, you would drive a car before you got a test drive?" That kind of thing. And it's like, I mean, like, why do you think you got a test drive? Like what gave you that premise? And the culture. So like, I think it's really important for us in church to like talk about sex, talk about finances. Yes. The forgiveness series is fire.
Yes.
So like those are the things that I think that the church has to be like, we have to be like louder in. And it's important for us, and like why I want you guys to get you on the show, because us as like young Black Christian millennials who are like next up as leaders, even though we don't have a lot of elders right now, like we have to like continue to like exude that for the younger generation. And I think you guys are doing that.
Thank you. You as well.
I try my best, because it's like, it's not easy. It's not easy. And like, man, culture, like I said, like it just seems like it gets louder. You're trying to go deeper to God, and it gets louder. And louder. But again, going back to like interceding, like prayer closet, like doing all these different things, and like having a helper who's like praying for you, as you're because you're a head of household, and like great example for me.
Thank you.
Great example for me. So you guys are like moving forward. How do you combat the culture, like, and like you're trying to grow closer to your faith, and like how are you guys like navigating that, and like what tools do you have?
So I think the biggest. This is something that we started recently, and I think is a reason why we healed from the damage of our first year. Is like a lot of people like have date nights, and we still do that, but like having like a prayer night where like Fridays we just cut off everything, turn on our music, make a playlist, and just worship, whether that's together, whether like that's apart, like we're around the house, just like praying, worshiping, falling to our knees, coming back up. Like Jordan one time felt the need to like come and like talk to me and pray over me, and like just exude so many things that like are really deep rooted trauma. And I just feel like culture tells you, like make sure you go on a date, make sure you stay dating each other, you stay like talking to them, which is important, it's vital, but like what about like make sure we're praying together, and make sure that we're seeking God together and we're on the same page, and like if we're both seeking God, He's giving us the same thing. If I'm seeking God and I'm getting one thing from God, but Jordan is in too much into like the mainstream media and stuff like that, he doesn't know what God is telling us. So, it's not like, even if I say, hey babe, God told us to do this, he's gonna be like, girl, you sound crazy, But like when we're both on one accord and like both seeking Him, and I think, like I said, praying together, it's a different type of spark, man. It's like unexplainable.
I would say, to answer your question as well, it's like there are some things that, we need answers for. We run to our phones immediately and we ask, like, okay, what should we do for ABC 123? But I think there are some things, especially when it comes to marriage, even just people, when it comes to having a solution for whatever it is that we're going through, it requires you to think. It requires you to like, you can see what other people did on social media as a gift or
Yeah.
all these other things and like, oh, what these ideas of what to do for holidays and whatnot. But like, as a family, we have to establish what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like as what are we going to do? Like, yeah, that's a cool idea. It can be a good spark, but like, you got to use your brain.
Yeah.
You have to use what is going to work for, from a spiritual perspective, what's going to work for Des and I, and not like, oh, I'm just going to copy. What did they do? I'm going to try that as well and see if that helps. But you're not looking for a solution. You're looking for a band-aid.
Yes.
And like, you need to actually, okay, what can I establish for my wife? What can I establish for me? What can I establish for this relationship?
Yeah, that's incredible. I literally saw something like that. And it's like, live your life. Like, so this guy, he would go to work and then he would come back late at night, like at 11 o'clock, and he would always wake his kids up and be like, hey, how you doing? You had a good day? And he's like, talk to him. He's like, and they're like, people are telling him like, yo, this is bad for your kids. Like, let them sleep, stuff like that. He's like, yo, I gotta live my life.
Right.
You know, because is he gonna remember me not being there, or is he gonna remember me waking him up?
Yeah, that's good.
Live your life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like again, like culture is so loud right now that we have to we gotta stay rooted in Christ. And then we also gotta like, you know, hey, this is what it looks like to have a modern like Christian like marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, because there's not a lot of examples, especially like Black people like doing it, and and obviously like a not soft environment like we're talking about, and how we need elders. You know, so like you guys have elders like that you guys call and like sit with monthly or yearly or anything like that.
We have wise counsel.
We coined our council. When we were dating, we actually coined this thing called our council, and it was like my best friends, so people you could call on to like tell them like, if I were to do you name the egregious act, they would be able to say, sit down. Like, no, they wouldn't be like, hey, judge you or say, hey, you're blah blah blah. They'd be like, no, you messed up. What are you gonna fix it? Okay, why did you do it? Blah blah, and help me through ABC months winter, and not condemn.
Yeah.
Of course, it gets condemned, but at the same time, show like what Patrick was talking about yesterday, it was love and justice. Like, they're going to show love, but they're also going to provide that justice. And like, hey, there's consequences for your actions.
Yeah, like the intersection of love and justice.
Yes, yeah.
I was reading something. I don't know. Jessica bought me this book, and it's called like The God Within, or like Finding Your Hidden Potential in God, or God's Purpose for You, or something like that. I don't know, but he talked about the intersection of like love and justice, and why the cross is so beautiful, because it's like no love justice, or love justice, you know, where that looks like in this intersection, and the cross is like for many reasons like that. You know, so then again, that's beautiful. And then we went to church yesterday, and then I saw that. And for me, it's powerful because these last few years, we've seen signs and wonders more so than I ever saw it in my life. You know, especially dealing with like the relationship with Jessa. Like, I don't know, I feel like I was lukewarm a few years ago, and you know, when I started like to go closer to God, this is when I started seeing them. Like, you know, so the one I'll tell you is like, because Jessa, she was agnostic for a few years, you know, but she grew up like Presbyterian. The church wasn't, I guess you would say they weren't super loving, you know, in a way. And so it kind of turned her off. So when we met, I was like, oh, like, you know, so, but she didn't really like it didn't really seem like she was really agnostic to me. It seemed like there was a reason, like, or some trauma, some pressure. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm not going to like, you know, write it off, you know, because it's a big thing for me.
Right.
But you know, like months later into our relationship, she gets baptized. But we started going to church together and praying and things like that. And one of the first things was like, I would always ask her to pray with me. She would get like really like nervous and like, I can't do this or anything like that. And she came with a list of prayers, like, you know, our first month and this was prepared to pray. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I was like, yeah, my girlfriend. Because I wasn't taking anyone like that serious up until that point in time that I would really want to jump into a relationship. Like, okay, yes. And then the second thing was like closer. We started going to church together, and I was like, I want to know that she's doing this for herself, not for me. You know, and like really like, hey, God's calling you to like back to Him. So she sent me a picture the day before. So it was a Resurrection Sunday. The Saturday night, she sent me a picture from her journal entry the year before. Hey, God, I feel like you're calling me back to you.
Oh, wow.
Months before she met me.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I started crying, you know, and these are things like I wasn't like in a place to see things like this before. But like, I don't know, it's even more evident to me like now more so than anything. So it's been a blessing and like be guided by the Holy Spirit and just like really trying to go in that direction.
Awesome, man. It's good.
So you guys now are like you're married or you got over that first year hump, you would say, and like now, so like what are you gonna do to continue to like grow closer to God as a couple, like in this like growing that covenant?
I would say, as we mentioned, the worship times or worship nights or whatever, like we'll just, hey, you want to worship tonight? Sure. Or, oh, you want to, like, we schedule our worship together and we'll create a,
Like on schedule?
no, sometimes it's more like an impromptu.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah,
like a
it's not
Friday.
really like, oh,
Yeah, it's like,
let's
hey,
do something real quick.
yeah, let's do something. Or like when we hear good news or something like that, we just, hey, let's just worship. Okay. And we worship for like an hour, we pray, whatever. Then there's dates. After church on Sundays, we'll like, all right, that's also a financial tidbit in there as well. Like after church, you always gotta eat. So we'll go to Test Bulletin, Ginia, like they've been Chipotle for some reason.
Chipotle's fire.
Yeah, like it's fire.
Yeah, Justin's like, it gives everyone's runs. Why do you like it?
Yeah, it does something to my tongue. And for the longest, I was just on the wave, just like, yeah. And I was like, pause. Why am I doing this? This is not good. Stop.
Anyway,
What else? Oh, I guess every couple.
community.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
community, getting around community.
Yeah.
Oh, she could go now. I feel like I'm blah, blah, blah.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. No, I mean everything that you said, yeah, but I think definitely community.
Yeah,
100% community, because they will put you in your place all the time, anytime that you need, sometimes more than your husband or wife, So it's kind of like, that's a necessity. I think community is what like got us together. Community is what brought us back together, and community is like what's going to continue to hold us down.
Yeah.
Like we're not called to do this alone. And just because you're married doesn't mean you're called to just do it with your husband or just do it with your wife.
Yeah.
Like you have everybody, all your community, your trusted wise counsel, if you will.
Yeah,
Community.
community is like really, really like beautiful and important.
Mhm.
Because I feel like even with me, like my friends are like, hey JB, like you want to come to like Miami with us and like do stupid
Yeah.
stuff? And then you guys, you're proposing. You go in the kitchen and then like, hey, what you doing? And it's beautiful from that perspective. And the other thing about it too is like, I saw this on a YouTube short, and he was like, I feel like marriage is the best self-development program because it forces you to have to like you got to examine your fruit, and like make the right decision. Why did that bother me? And you want to seek help.
It's a mirror.
From above. It really is.
It's a mirror, bro. It's a mirror.
And so he said that, and I was like, man. So I look at like Justin and I, and as I continue to like walk towards the covenant of God, making sure that He's the cornerstone, Christ is the cornerstone, and He's above this, and we're going to stay in provision. I look at Jessa, and ever since she made a decision to go closer to God, and I feel like women are really like this a lot. But you guys, when you say I love a man or love God, you love God, and like how she is diligent with her devotions and things like that. I mean, I do my devotion in 5 days. So I'm like, and she in law school, so she read hella fast.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh man, I'm really slow. And so just like finding a way to like continue to like grow spiritually. Because again, like even when I'm have my Christian mingle hat on, because I put the Christians together, and sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it does. But I never want to put a woman with a man who isn't spiritually mature enough to lead her, because like you like especially like Christian women, like you're here countercultural. There's a certain level of like you want to help this man. So whatever fruit he's displaying, whatever he is at spiritually, like you're gonna amplify. I don't know how I would like do if I put a strong Christian woman with a lukewarm man or something like that. I don't know. I just like, man, I can't do that. Can't do that. But it's important for us to keep us with self-study and then obviously like we hold each other accountable on that.
Yeah.
But like for me, I'm like, oh man, I read in 3 days. I need to like
Yeah.
I need to do better. So that's a beautiful part about it too, though. And then she's never like, oh John, I read this. I see it. So how do you help Jordan? You're his helper. You're his rib, right?
Yeah. So I think my biggest call is not to tell Jordan about himself. It's not to be like, do this different, do this better. Although like you get stuff in the flesh and sometimes all you see is flaws.
Yeah.
My call is to pray for my husband and like always power of a praying wife, like always what can I do? How can I pray for you? Because I cannot change you. Only God can change you. I cannot make you a better man, better father, better brother, better son. Like only God can do that. But how can I intercede in prayer? And I know that God answers prayer. Might not be on the time that I want him to, might not be on the time that Jordan wants him to, but if I'm sending it up, he's hearing me, he's listening, and he cares about like what we're going through. So I think the biggest thing for me is prayer.
Prayer. Yeah, that's beautiful. And then Jordan, so how do you lead her? Like how would you describe your leadership?
I would describe my leadership as I think every guy tries to immediately fix whatever, like she has something going on at work or whatever, you want to try to provide a solution. And I think what a lot of guys will find is that you, how do I say this? You have to be patient. I think I'm patient. I think sometimes I can, there's things here and there, but sometimes you're just patient. You just like I allow her to process things and go through things, even spiritually, things that she's going through. Like I can't find the answer for her because that's not going to do anything. So I have to like talk her through it, ask her questions. Even though I might have my own personal feelings on something, I have to, hey babe, why do you feel like you should talk that way? Or why do you feel that you should not do ABC 1, 2, and 3? But then there's some things that I when we first initially, I was like, hey, don't do that. Like I have a trigger word and I'm like, hey, we're not going to say this. She was like, it's that. I'm like, no, we're not saying that. Like that's off the table. Like we're not going to do that at all. Like that's not okay to say or whatever. And then there's some things I know she battles with, and I'll see it or hear it or whatever, and I'm just like, I lose. And I think
you don't have to be so sweet. You don't have to be so sweet.
What do you mean?
Like I struggle with anger.
I wasn't saying anything, but that is something I'm passionate about. Like I know. Okay.
That was that first year. For sure.
Yes. Yeah. Just like okay. All right. I don't have to describe my leader. I don't have to describe it. I guess I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Or like trying to like put a label on it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Because no, I heard you like your patience. I mean, I can see that in you too. So like you're probably patient, like what she needs,
Absolutely.
And like not trying to fix it, but like just listening. And because I think we naturally want to do that.
I think a lot of guys are just like, oh, you did what? Yeah, no, that shouldn't have happened. Blah blah blah. I'm like, I just want you to listen. I'm just like, okay, I think it's in our blood.
And especially when like I want her to have the best interpersonal relationships that she can.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you should just call her and like say this. Or let me send a text.
What were we talking about we talked about something yesterday, and I was like, okay, why don't you do that? Why don't you? She goes, I don't. It's not what I'm trying to get at. Like, I'm like, why are we having this conversation? Like, what are we doing? I thought we were trying to fix something. Something's broken. Let's fix it. I think.
Yeah, and I think too, because like empathy, and like what that looks like for a man and what that looks like for a woman are like different. And that's something I'm learning because I'm like, oh yeah, you can't just. I'm super scripted. So yeah, I understand how that made you feel, but I'm trying. I think she appreciates that. At least I'm trying to like not like fix it.
Yeah.
So it's very, very encouraging. But yeah, no, like I think that's your leadership style. Like lead with patience when she's ready. Like the different phases of like whatever you're going through, and like just being there for her in those different phases and not trying to like fix it immediately. I think that's beautiful. That's what we're called to do.
Yes, sir.
So there's a lot of Christians that are like looking at this podcast, right? So what would you guys leave with them?
It's a broad.
So I think I have two kind of similar things. So I like how we were at first, or we talked a little bit like community. I think it's huge to have a community that you can grow with, and not I'm not anti-tech, but you need human. There has to be human interaction with individuals. And I know how mundane it can get. I know how repetitive and just like, oh, hi, my name is Jordan. I'm from blah, blah, blah. Oh, hi. And then you can do that with each group. But you have to find, I would just keep doing it. Yeah. Just keep going through it and keep doing it with whatever church you're at, whatever group of people you come across, and just establish. Once you find someone that is that you think you can grow with, invest in that relationship, and don't just, I think like, yeah, we're cool. Like, no, invest in those human interactions. Like, go out and, hey, would you like to go get some coffee? Would you like to go to this place? Oh, I know a good brunch spot, ABC, whatever. But just keep moving that along, and don't just, hi, my name is Jordan. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and then just take a step back and let everyone else do the same thing. And then, all right, come back next week, and don't let that Thursday, Sunday, whatever day you meet for church.
Those people, for sure. Yeah, I agree. Guys, you have anything?
Yeah. I think for me, and I guess this is just because it's like what's facing us, especially as millennials now, like don't let social media, don't let what you see in the media or anywhere like be your kryptonite. You know what I'm saying? Like don't see someone else's life and try to be like them or act like them or think like them, because God has set you apart. He has set you different. Anybody you see is not you. Like it's not you. It's not who God has created you to be. So don't let like social media be the killer of what God has called you to be, your purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say I guess so, like the social media is a reference, not a addiction. That's not like that's or whatever. That's not like that's what we should be doing. It's just a reference point. It's just like literally like it sparks an idea. It's not like that is what I'm going to do. I'm like, oh, that person did this. I'm going to do the exact same thing. It's just like, what is something similar? And again, you got to use your head. It's key.
No, for sure. And, I really appreciate you all for taking the time out.
I literally felt short.
Yeah.
It felt like quick.
I appreciate you for taking the time out. And, my prayers are with you all. And I encourage you guys and continue to be a light where you guys go.
You as well. You as well.
Yes, thank you for having us on. This is great. I love this forum. I love this.
And I really do appreciate that the way that you are now is the way you are all the time.
Yeah.
Like you're very personable. Yes. And I told Jordan, when you talked about pulling out some holy oil, I said, oh, he's different.
And it was like,
I was like,
and you were like, oh, bro, you want to go get it? You want to go? You want to go? You were like, what's the problem? I can go. You can go.
And you don't use your own words. You use the Bible. You know what I'm saying? I really do appreciate that. Like, low key, the elder of our group. Low key. But
you and Travis, elders. Y'all elders.
No, it means the world to me.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it, because we're all in this thing, it's a war. It's a war.
For sure.
And we're out here together.
Yes, sir.
So,